bring in Carrie Severino, president of the Judicial Crisis Network, joining us now. Carrie, thank you very much for being here today. As the breaking news comes in, lots of reaction continues to pour in this afternoon. What do you believe the days, weeks, months look like that follows this groundbreaking decision?
Well, as you were commenting, there's a lot of threats of violence and activity like that. So I think you're going to have continued concerns about the safety of the justices, safety of pro-life groups across the country, of pregnancy centers designed to help pregnant women, ironically, are being targeted and firebombed, churches as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of concern about that. That said, I think as we saw after the leak, after a certain point, people are going to recognize that what this decision really does is afford them the opportunity to determine what their own state's abortion regulations are going to look like. There's a role now for Congress. There's a role for state legislatures to try to determine what is the proper way to balance the interests involved. And I think we're going to see both sides recognizing that that's where the real work needs to be done. And I think that's actually the right response here, because it never was something that should have been decided by unelected judges.
We talk about Roe, we talk about Casey, we talk about Dobbs, a lot of this, and people don't really get this. But is it a fair assessment, Carrie, when you hear some of these legal analysts say that for all intents and purposes, Casey really did gut a large portion of Roe to begin with, and so we had a kind of a new starting point there?
Yeah, Casey, in many ways, like Chief Justice Roberts' concurring opinion today, wanted to not overturn Roe, but they also didn't want the standard that Roe imposed. And as Chief Justice Roberts acknowledged, it was kind of one that the Roe court made up out of thin air. But what Casey then did was made up a new standard out of thin air. So instead of taking the trimester framework that Roe had, they just invented the undue burden standard. Neither of them had any place in the Constitution or American law before that. They just kind of were made up, much as Chief Justice Roberts' own opinion kind of would do and say, well, we don't want to overturn everything. We don't want to say we're overturning it. But if you're effectively gutting it and replacing the contents of the decision with a totally different standard, then you're keeping it name only. That's really what Casey did. I think today it was admirable that the court didn't try to play those games, didn't say, oh, no, we're keeping this. We're just kind of putting new content in it. No, just acknowledge it's not in the Constitution. We're not going to keep playing these games. And now let's abide by the rule of law. Let's let this decision be made by the American people and their representatives.
Carrie, I'm sure you've been hearing us cover this statement by Susan Collins of Maine, basically making the case that what Justices Gorsuch said to her in their confirmation process is inconsistent with, obviously, the turnout here, and Justice Kavanaugh as well. Senator Manchin issuing a similar statement to our team Call 424. Senator Manchin saying this: I trusted Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh when they testified under oath that they also believed Roe v. Wade was settled legal precedent, and I'm alarmed they chose to reject the stability the ruling has provided for 2 generations of Americans. As a Catholic, I was raised pro-life and will always consider myself pro-life. Get your reaction to that.
Yeah, I think the statements that they made were 100% correct. It was true. Roe was settled precedent. But we also know that there are times when the court overturns settled precedent, and those justices never promised they would not do that. In fact, Susan Collins herself acknowledged when she was getting ready to vote for them that none of them made any promises to her, because they couldn't. No one could actually promise, I will always uphold this case, or I will never overturn this, or I will always do this one thing when presented with a specific question. They can't, as judges, make those kind of promises. So it's possible that Manchin and Collins were hoping that's what would happen. I think a lot of people on both sides of the aisle were hoping they knew what would happen in various cases. But as we know, wishful thinking only gets you so far. And there's lots of cases people thought judges would do one thing and they would do another. They simply can't commit to do anything at the hearings, and they didn't.
Yeah, I wanted to play this soundbite if we have a control room. This is President Biden speaking a short time ago. He's talking specifically about the health and life of a woman in this nation now being at risk. And we'll get your thoughts on the other side of We don't have it. We don't have this yet. But what he's saying here, and we brought this up a little bit with Martha McCallum, Carrie, earlier, is that he's saying that, if there's a case of rape or incest, that you have no choice. You have to have, you have to go through with this thing. And then he says a few minutes later, well, you can go to other states, but we need to make sure that people have the right to go to other states. So he's contradicting himself in that. If we have this soundbite, go on. But clearly what he's saying, and let me just read the last part of this. He says it reaffirmed basic principles of equality, that women have the power to control their own destiny, to reinforce the fundamental right of privacy, right of each of us to choose how to live our lives. Now with Roe gone, let's be very clear, he says, the health and life of women in this nation are now at risk. Your thoughts, Carrie?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad it's acknowledging that it's women who get pregnant. That's something the arguments in the briefs refused to actually even acknowledge. So that is a step. I'm glad that Biden corrected his comments, too, because what this does not create a one-size-fits-all abortion policy for the nation. It doesn't ban it anywhere. The states are themselves deciding how to address this issue. Some of them have done that already. Some of them are going to be legislating in the days to come to address this issue. But all of them have women's interests at heart. There obviously are different approaches to this. Some states are very concerned about the health psychological risks to women that abortion does, the risks of them increasing the likelihood they're going to be trafficked or that men would take advantage of them and can kind of just cop out of parenting a child. There are also concerns on the other side, wanting to make sure abortions are safe in ways that the previous abortion regime, no longer current, didn't allow certain even just health protections of requiring admitting privileges of to have doctors that are performing abortion, of abortionists, and requiring them to meet certain medical standards was often overturned by courts under Roe. So there's a lot of ways that states' interests in protecting women's health for a whole range of ways are going to be advanced by this, not to mention states who are concerned about the disproportionate abortions of baby girls over baby boys. So I think all the states are going to have to figure out how to balance all of these issues. How do they want to most address women's health? That's going to be an issue for the legislatures, for the state legislatures, for Congress to try to hammer all of those things out now.
All right, Carrie Severino, appreciate all your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.